What's up, everybody? Welcome to part 2 of this episode, number 6, here on the Teamwork DreamWork podcast. Again, we're sitting here with Triska, legend, bro. We've gotten to such a deep conversation last time. We talked for 2.5 hours nonstop.
2.5 hours nonstop.
Yes, sir.
So
Podcast record.
Podcast
so
record,
far,
yeah.
yeah.
So far, it is a record. We haven't even talked to each other that long on camera,
No.
for real.
Not only that, I mean,
I think it was so organic that
that's what I kept telling him the whole day. It was so organic, and I loved that because it was just really fluent. And for us to do a part 2, and once again, thank you for being here for the part 2. Which, by the way, guys, yes, part 2. That's why we're all dressed differently and whatnot. We still have the charcuterie board.
We don't care about continuity.
The charcuterie board's been here for 17 days.
But thank you so much. Before we actually start and going into conversation about what we want to, I actually have a little surprise for you. Every person that we actually bring into the podcast, we always give them a shirt.
Oh,
So,
sick.
Bobby, that's for you.
Oh, sick. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I
Yep.
love it, bro.
The red came off, though.
The red looks
I
amazing
love
with the
it.
white.
Thank you.
Of course, sir.
Thank you, my brother.
Bye-bye.
I love you,
Of
man.
course. Love you too, Bobby.
Hell yeah. So where do y'all boys want to start, man?
Oh, Victor's actually going to start this one.
Go ahead, Vic.
Awesome. So in the last, part, we kind of ended up talking about how, how you got into Moonbatone, with all your friends, meeting everybody, and so now, like, to put it in perspective, we're in the middle of Shake and Base. It's in the middle of its heyday, right?
Yeah.
How did that make you feel, being able to know that you had created the night that you were trying to create? Like you said, having competition on a Sunday, you're doing what you set out to do. So what does it feel like to be in that moment, knowing that you're getting it done?
Yeah, man. So it felt amazing. It felt like a dream. It really did, and not just for me, for everybody. And like we had mentioned in the previous episode, one of the models that, not one of the model that we had for Shake and Base is, like, we wanted everybody to feel like it was theirs. Like, we wanted everybody to feel like it was home. So that's why we didn't have the bottle service or anything like that. We leave the ego at the door. There's no dress code. Don't matter what kind of designer shit you're wearing, like, nobody's here for that. And what that cultivated over time meant a lot. There was a camaraderie with people that show up, and they would catch up over a couple of beers, and what the night ended up being for some people was bigger than we anticipated. Some people look forward to Sunday all fucking week. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes, sir.
and with that type of energy going into something, it created an environment that DJs and artists alike were enjoying and going home to their respected cities and telling other DJs about it. And we started to get a lot more inquiries, people willing to spin for free, people that we idolized, and yeah, so it a snowball effect started, and I think there was a certain sense of, like, pride everybody felt. Makk being able to play unreleased shit for people. Makk would local rappers that were showing up to the shows, he would have their songs already downloaded, and he would be slowing them down and throwing them over fucking Moomba beats or Kuduro or whatever. And, like, some of these artists never even heard their own music done up like that. The Palmer Reeds, the Nikos, the Sky, Keys, Swamp Posse. So there's a lot of artists that, like I said, I think there was a lot of artists and a lot of fans alike that started to call that place home, you know? So to answer your question, like the energy that was built was just one of like, of teamwork. It was one of like family. It was one of, I don't know, it was like a togetherness, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's the best feeling in the world, bro.
No, that's
Yeah, going into that about the local rappers, you know, and artists, City Tucker, one of Makk's biggest songs actually was The City. And to me, that was amazing. I actually listened to it today. And listening to all Makk's tracks to me was nostalgic and amazing on what he was doing so ahead of everybody else. And when we said in the last episode, everybody loved Makk. But when he played as Shake and Bass, it was
different.
it's like, be ready.
It was different.
Nobody knew or had an idea. Like normally, you know, DJs and you're like, all right, well, maybe they're gonna play this song. With Makk, it was different.
It was so funny because he was. It was so funny because like being behind the decks with him, it's like he was genuinely having fun, you know.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, he's throwing down, and so anybody listening, they're like, God, he's killing it, you know. But then you'd like hug him from behind, he'd be like, bro, I am so lit right now, you know what I'm saying? And like, there's been times where he's like, look at this. I'm playing 2 songs at the same time. Nobody knows it. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's like freaking out, you know? So it's like, yeah, man, he was doing it from a place of like fun, you know? He was doing it from a place of love and like, yeah, he was spinning his ass off, but he was, yeah, he was sending it too, you know? So it was cool.
for you guys. When, if there's a moment, like when, like if you had a moment with him, like was there, like when was it that you guys went like, holy shit, like we did it, like we made it, you know what I'm saying? Like to fully just be like, wow, like we, you know, when was that moment for both of you? Or for just you in general, like,
I think every cosign that happened pretty naturally, whether it was the Mad Decent or Diplo, or you know, it was like the cosigns from people like Dave Nada, from like Jesse, you know, Titsworth, and like the guys that were running Mumba Massive and at U-Haul, and the boys from LA, Too Deep, and that whole squad, you know. I think that's like what it was for me. It was like those cosigns. It was people coming to the city and, you know, stay on a Friday. They get to play with a pet lemur. They're on their stories, you know, that like with a
like you said yesterday, you made sure that when they came, it was from Friday to Monday.
Yeah, so they can get like an Orlando experience and everything. And by the time people made it back, it's like they're like, dude, Orlando is sick. The squad out there is sick. The night is insane. And I think that's what it was for me. Like it was a mix of the reactions that we were getting from other people and like the cosigns we were getting from big artists. And then like the big thing for me was like when big promoters like Evolve Group at the time, when they had Saturdays and stuff, when they would book artists on Saturdays, the artist would secretly stay till Sunday and come play secret sets at Shake and Bass. And they wouldn't even charge us. It was all love, you know. So we had like this is when like OK was like huge, and this is when we had 12th Planet.
Yes, shout out to Jonathan.
Yeah, we had 12th Planet come through and spin, and it's like, you know, you have like all these different people, Mr. Carmax, and like
is that Craze at 1.2?
Yeah.
Oh, Craze, yeah. Shout out to Craze, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Craze.
I love him. Like he's awesome. Like,
Miami legend. Done a lot of cool stuff with him, man, and everybody. So it's like when you have legends like that are coming and they're like they're doing it for free, like they're just like, yo,
they just want to hang, yeah.
They just want to hang, like.
But here's the thing.
That's so cool.
Me and him before you got here, we're talking about things that I wanted to mention. And it's amazing that you said that about Evolve Group actually doing their events on Saturdays. Because I am never going to forget one of the Shake and Base. Me and you were chilling and whatnot. And you were telling me how one day, sorry, these motherfuckers are actually going to come to the event and see what we're doing. And that Sunday, the whole Evolve group ended up showing up to Shake and Base. And I remember grabbing you and telling you, Triska, they're here. And you came out of the green room and you were like, it's about time. Because they saw, like you just said, their DJs that they paid a lot of money for and promoted everything, they were coming to your events. So they were like, what is this Shake and Base thing?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was an amazing thing, seeing a big event. Not saying that obviously your event wasn't big because it's one of the biggest events ever, but from a Saturday coming to your event,
Yeah.
you were creating a lot of noise, man.
Yeah, man. It was sick. It was sick. And then like even outside of like the EDM world, like there was a legendary night that changed a lot of our lives. Talib Kweli, which is now it's, 10, 12 years later, shit, longer than that. It's still like a dear friend, an OG, a mentor, somebody who answers the phone when I call. Every podcast he went on, Drink Champs, anything where it came an opportunity for him to tell my story, he did.
Yeah.
And people would send me some of those publications while I was locked up, and it made me feel good that I was being remembered. My name was still living, and but that whole connection between Kweli was through Shake and Base, and I got called up to the front. Somebody said they wanted to speak to whoever's running the night, and I, it's Kweli. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
And he's just like, look, man, I want to come in, but I don't want no bottles. I don't want nobody shouting me out. I want to keep it low key. And I'm like, oh, bet, because we don't do any of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and respectfully, so you look super familiar. I don't want to make assumptions, but like, and he was like, yeah, no, I'm Talib Kweli. And I'm like, oh. Like, all right, yeah, look, we don't gotta do nothing, bro. Like, if anything, we cool it at the bar. He's like, all right, bet. He had a couple people with him. He called for him to get out the whip, out the cab. I walked him in. His people went, hit the dance floor. Adam, although he's punk rock scene and all this shit,
Yeah.
he was a big boom bap hip hop fan, and he was like, what, bro? We got Talib Kweli here? And I was like, yeah, dude. He was like, give me a bottle. He's like, what is he drinking? What are you drinking? It's like JMO. So we sat at the corner of the bar by where the mirrors were at.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam put 2 shot glasses in front of me and Kwa, bottle of JMO, and I started rolling up, and nobody bothered us. People that did come around, they're like, yo, Tris, what's up, bro? Blah, blah, blah. But I was like, yo, I'll catch with you in a little bit. And I tried to keep all my attention towards him and just making sure he felt cool, because this was a different scene, This is like,
Yeah.
you got people hanging.
Never seen it before.
You got people hanging off the fucking rails, twerking, and people doing handstands, twerking, and
Which,
There was an
we
ass
have pictures.
in some
We have
direction
pictures.
everywhere. There was
Yeah.
ass everywhere. Yeah.
and it was cool, man. And thank God that happened, because at the end of the night, he tried to thank me for everything, and I was like, nah, bro, like, everything's on the house. Obviously, like, it's all love. Pleasure meeting you, bro. It's an honor. He's like, yo, thank you. And I was like, yo, actually, if you really want to thank me, man, let me get 5 minutes of your time when we're sober. He's like, all right, yeah, I call that. What you need? And I was like, I'm going to go get you my best friend's mixtape. I'll be right back.
Yep.
And I went to the car, and I took a Sharpie, and I wrote my phone number on it. And I came back, and I was like, yo, just check them out. And the 5 minutes that I want is just any type of feedback you can give me. And if you like the music and you'd like to work with him, let me know, because I'd love to have you on a feature with him. And that particular project had a song with Action Bronson, on it. It had there was a couple of really dope features on there. I think we had Casey Veggies on one of the songs, and the production was all done by Thanks Joey.
Thanks, Joey, bro.
And another legend, man. And yeah, dude, sure as shit. The next morning I had to fly to New York. I land in New York, and when I get off the plane, I've got a voicemail from Kweli, and I hear him playing the album in the background, and he's like, "Yo, hit me back." Like, he's like, "I'm like 4 tracks in. These beats are crazy. Hit me back." What the fuck? So I hit him back, and I'm like, he's like, "Bro, who's making these beats?" I was like, "It's all in house." It's our good friend Joey. And he's like, and this artist is insane. And I was like, "Yeah, it's my best friend." He's like, "I'd love to work with him." He's like, "Dude, let me know what your feature price is." He told me. I went straight from the airport to the bank, wired it over, and then I called my boy Nico.
Shout out to Nico Is.
Yeah, Nico Is. Just FaceTiming him before we got here. And he, yeah, man, it changed his life forever. You know, at the time we owned a music studio. Remember when we built that? And
192.
On 192.
Yep. That's
Nights
where I
at-
met him the first time, actually.
Night at the Round Table, KRT Studios.
Yep.
And I called Nico, and I
What a
was
sick
like,
fucking name for studio. Like, damn. That's
Yeah.
fucking sick.
it was cool. It was cool.
Before he had actually his beautiful, luscious hair, it was like up here.
Yep.
Yep, I remember.
Yep. He had the little mini fro going
Yeah.
on. Yeah, man. He was skinny.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I called him like, "Dude, you're not gonna believe who was at the night last night." He's like, "Who is it?" Man, Talib Kweli. He's like, "Bro, that's a fucking hip hop legend." I'm like, "I know." I gave him your album. He loved it. He's like, "Shut the fuck up." I'm like, "I swear to God, bro, I just paid him for a feature."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "This is what I need you. Are you listening?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I want to give you his phone number." He's like, "Shut the fuck up." I was like, "Dude, listen. I give you his phone number. You need to go get some weed. You need to call him and bring him to the studio because he's gonna lay a verse down." I paid for a verse, and he was like, "Dude, no, you didn't." I was like, "Yeah, bro, make it happen. I got shit to do. Hit me up later when it's done." And sure as shit, they started sending me pictures of them in the studio together. They recorded Carmen, which was Nico's mom's name, and it was an amazing track. And years later, you know, Nico traveled the world 3 times with Kweli, and he's
Going
was
to
able
Dave
to-
Chappelle's camp.
yeah, was able to rap for people like, you know, not rap for, but like become friends with people like Dave Chappelle and Donnell Rollins, and you know, he's freestyled for Kanye and like a lot of people, you know, and it's for Common, you know, and when all those things started really coming to fruition, I was already long gone. I was, you know, started my prison bid, and seeing those things come, you know, in the form of pictures, people sending me pictures, and I'm hear my name at mail call, and I go and I see these pictures of all this one little seed that was planted, you know, and it's what it's, you know, all the fruits that it's bearing, and how it's changing some of my friends' lives, and yeah, it all came from that. So it was more than just the EDM people that showed up to Shake and Base and made a difference, you know. It was some good people that showed up, man.
Yeah.
Riff Raff.
Yes,
I
I
remember
remember
that.
Riff Raff.
Riff
Yep.
Raff.
Actually, because Riff Raff was actually at Firestone.
Riff Raff was at Firestone, so that's when we
Yeah.
were booked to do a 4-city tour with Riff Raff through Dope E&T, which was Matt Zingler and Tarek, which they ended up, you know, starting Rolling Loud.
Rolling
and-
Loud. Yep.
Oh,
And-
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know
Those
that.
are the
Okay.
founders of
Yeah.
Rolling Loud, and now it's Rolling Loud's the biggest hip hop festival in the world. But before it was any Rolling Loud, or before it was anything, it was
Yeah,
Dope E&T.
Yep.
And they were booking artists like Joey Badass and A$AP Rocky and Schoolboy Q, and they would have Makk spin a lot of those shows, and I was managing Makk, and you know, they would throw a lot of opportunities our way, and we included them into a lot of different stuff that we had going on, and the cool friendship, you know, that we had then. So it was cool. It was cool to see different people from different walks of life, older, newer, younger, people that are promoters in the hip hop world, people that are promoters in the same city, technically competition, coming to our stuff and enjoying it. So Yeah, man. Really dope.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Obviously, we talked about, and everybody knows, Shaking Base being the most ratchet event.
Right.
How did that come up? Like, how did you?
It was
Did,
by accident.
that's what I want to ask you, because the first Shaking Base, it was just the DJs obviously on stage. Next thing you know, after like the third one or fourth one, you had everybody on stage,
Yeah.
even behind the DJs. And we were
So
talking about that before you got here. At Takeover, unless you actually were somebody or had money, you couldn't be behind the DJs.
yeah, but that was the difference, right? That was the whole motto. It's like I want everybody to have experiences. Like, think about what that experience did for some people and how much it made them feel like they were home, you
Yeah.
know? Other places they went to, they couldn't do that. But then they come up, they're on stage. They're, it's a girl shaking ass, and she gets to know that nobody's going to grab her, grope her. Nobody's going to disrespect her.
No security's going to come and actually just kick them out or
And if
whatnot.
security didn't, we did ourselves. And and for guys too, they knew that they could just go up there and act the fool, and as long as they were not disrespecting anything or not bumping the table and ruining the equipment, then it's cool, and anywhere else, people are hawking you, security guards are hawking you, they're trying to tap you on the shoulder, say, hey bro, who you with, let me check your band, whatever. So it's like those type of little details made a big difference. But the whole like ratchet side of it kind of came, I don't want to say like by accident, it was meant to happen.
Yeah.
But me and Sam's crew, because we're all from Kissimmee, Osceola County and shit like that, and like we brought all our people, man, and then shit, we were ratchet. We were ratchet, and we like house, and we liked all kinds of different shit, and But the very first time it came, it was everybody was everywhere. People are fucking at that top little part,
Yeah.
twerking, and
Yeah,
then people on the stage twerking, and it was kind of like it was a little wild. And I stepped Adam to the side after the first one, like that following day on Monday, and I was like, Adam, bro, listen, I want to apologize, and if it got a little rowdy, we'll keep it under control because I didn't want to lose a spot. And he was like, no. He was like, that was sick. And he's like, and whatever you guys want to do and however you guys see fit, like, I have faith in you. Like, bring it all to life. And then by the second and third one, it started getting real wild. And then it just kept going from there.
Like you said, it snowballed.
Just
It
a
was,
snowball effect,
oh
right?
man, we're gonna post some pictures throughout the whole podcast, but in the end, we're gonna make a little slideshow of pictures so you guys have a visual idea of what we're talking about. And till this day, not even in a strip club, you saw the things that you saw at Shaking Base.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like to me, it was.
And I think that's what made it fun, right? It's like, look, there were no rules.
It was the
you
most fun
take-
you could have.
Yeah,
without
you
going
take your
over.
shirt off at Roxy, or you take your shirt off at any other club, you're getting kicked out. You know what I'm saying?
Ejected.
You take your shirt
Yeah.
off at Shaking Base, and you're having fun, and it's like who knows, bro? There's pictures of, it didn't matter, bro. We had blow up dolls. We had
Yeah.
fucking, we're bringing the goddamn beer bongs to the, you know what I'm saying?
Super soakers.
We were super soakers filled with Everclear and Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah.
And we just, it was a blast. It was a blast. Obviously you guys were there, but yeah, I think you mix all of those things, make people feel safe, make people feel like it's a safe place, judgment-free zone. You put a bunch of Everclear and some super soakers.
Oh man.
And you just let people have like cool, responsible fun, and you can create something beautiful, naturally.
Well, let me ask you a question here. Haley, you don't mind? Do you mind lighting one real quick? Thank you. But I want to ask you a question. So, like, since I started with how it felt, right, to be in the middle of it all, right, and obviously, sadly, all things, all amazing things, for some reason, have to come to an end, right, at some point. And you've touched on it, you having to do your own time and whatnot. How from that time and then coming, when it was over with and you were able to, re-engage with Shake and Base and, after Sam having passed, how did that change for you? How did that change Shake and Base, and how did that, affect you and how you moved with everyone else? And how did you guys tackle that,
So,
Good question.
yeah, great question, man. And it's some of these, this answer might get a little personal, but
That's why I had her like that too.
okay, perfect.
The Diet Coke.
Yeah, Diet Coke. Who's got the real Coke?
Right?
Who's got?
Shout out Brad.
No, not that Coke. Whoa, that's not.
We call this Diet Coke.
Yeah, so that's the Diet Coke.
Yeah.
But man, if you light that wood back up, man, if you don't mind, brother.
He going.
But yeah, dude. By the time Shake and Base was 3 years old, and we're getting notoriety, and we're in magazines, and we're all over the place, and people are making money, and everybody's getting their shine and shit like that. I would do what I had to do to make Shake and Base, what it was. I would play my part and play my part passionately. But throughout the week, man, I was running the streets, and I was running the streets with my best friend and my brother Kyle. Free him. He'll be out soon, doing a little time for some bullshit. And but we were menaces, bro. We were menaces, and like there wasn't a jack boy in town that didn't fucking love us, and there wasn't a fucking plug that wasn't eating with us. And if we weren't obviously we were out Shaking Base on Sunday, obligation, but we would be at Roxy on Saturday, or we would be at wherever we had to be Friday, and we were spending 10 grand a weekend at these places. So it's like, some of these club owners, they're looking at us like, oh, these fuckers are wild, like they're here spending 5-10 grand every weekend. They got a party of their own. Their party's wild. Like, who the fuck are these kids, And like, we always handled our own business, bro. Like, when we would be in clubs, bro, we used to be at Vane until 7 in the morning, in the Tony Koo days. We were cool with all the staff. We were cool with everybody there, and we'd stay there till 7:30 in the morning, bro. And like, we had those kind of relationships. Ted, the ex-owner of Roxy.
Yep. Shout out to Ted.
Man.
Love.
He took me under his wing, showed me a lot of love. And, I would go to Roxy and shut shit down, bro. And like, I've probably gotten into a cool 6-7 fights and brawls at Roxy, and I never got kicked out one time. But but there's video surfaces out there. Be Superman punching motherfuckers, jumping from the DJ booth, Superman punching.
Bro, I want to see that. That sounds awesome.
Like I was a wild boy, man, and my crew was kind of wild, and everybody loved it when it benefited them,
of course,
but people hated it when it turned around on them, and so you can imagine the kind of ego you build and the kind of feeling of being untouchable, right? I mean, it's not, like I said, bro, black, white, hood, not hood, didn't matter, trailer park boy, it wouldn't matter who it was. Like, we were in good standards with everybody, you know, and we were about our shit. And so you mix that with getting money and, you know, having the somewhat keys to the city for a bit.
Seriously, keys to the city, like.
And you know, when my stuff happened, the news got a hold of it first.
Yes.
So thank God the day it came out on the news, I didn't go to my house or to my girl's house at that time. I had went out with a couple buddies and I ended up at one of their houses. And my phone was dead. And my boy comes and knocks on the guest room door. And he's like, dude, you know, this chick's door just got kicked in. She's on the phone, like saying, like, the feds are looking for you. I'm like, nah, no way. So I put my phone in the charger. It turns on, and I get a link sent from a friend of mine that was in Cali of just, it was like, you know, WFTV News / Orlando promoter / Molly Kingpin.
Oh no.
And then like, I'm like, what the fuck? 7 a.m, you know? So I hit it, and then it's just like, you know, dun, 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 breaking news.
To watch that about yourself must have been trippy.
Oh,
That must have been trippy.
I threw up.
I believe it.
I remember.
threw up.
Dude.
I remember.
Oh,
I threw up. So like, you know, they're talking, and they're like, you know, the amounts that they seized compared to the size of this aspirin, we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pills worth, which is a lie because it was a lot more.
And then the fucking postal shit.
You know, and then they started, you know, whatever, bro. They used they used a mug shot of mine from the one time I did get kicked out of Roxy for fighting.
Yeah.
And I bailed myself out. I like literally went in there, ate a bologna sandwich, and left. And the picture that I have was just super, just
Thank
like,
you, Brad. That's from Brad to you.
oh, bro, thank you, bro. Because I just did it a couple times, bro. Thank you. And so, you know, I see that, call my lawyer instantly, send her the link. She contacts the DA. And then she's like, oh, I'm going to call you back. And I'm going to conference the agent in. And I was a fucking smartass. So she calls me back. Now it's like 8:30 a.m. So she's like, oh, Agent Baker, I've got Jonathan on the line. He's like, Jonathan, what's going on? I was like, you tell me. You know, word around here is y'all kicking down doors looking for me. He's like, absolutely. We have a warrant for your arrest. What you want to do? And this is like on a Thursday. And I was like, well, I've got my lawyer on the line. I'll let her tell you what we're going to do. And she's just like, my client hasn't had enough time to get counsel. He'll turn himself in on Monday. But he needs to come see me, and we need to develop a plan. And he's like, by Monday, if you're not, you know, if you haven't turned yourself in, I'm sending the marshals for you. And I'm like, man, send him. You know, my lawyer's like, no, we're not. He'll be there Monday. And I'm like, all right, you know, hang up the phone. I go to my lawyer's office. And she was limited to the documents that she could get because I hadn't gone to jail yet. So all she knew was what was going on in the news, what she saw in the news. And and yeah, so now, you know, cat's out the bag. Now a lot of people are watching the news and they're like, oh, that's how he's coming to the club spending all this money. Oh, that's why everybody's with fucking crazy, got face tattoos, and, you know, that's why he's in here with fucking 2-3 black kids with fucking dreads, and then a couple trailer park white boys, and, you know, a couple Chicos, and that's how they, you know, and it's just everything started adding up to people. So figured out what I had to figure out, turned myself in. Had a nebula hold on my bond, which means I had to provide proof of how the $19,000 bond is paid. So they schedule a court date for like 25 days after I turned myself in. It was supposed to be a walkthrough. Just go in there, you know what I'm saying? Go in there, get processed, 8 hours later, get released. But they had a hold of my shit. So whatever, I do like 25 days and I get out and I go to Shake and Base, and it's like my own people, you know, the same people I like gave these opportunities to, the same people we've been through thick and thin together, same people who've, when we drank too much, I'm holding somebody's hair, or if I drank too much, they're, hey, get in the backseat of my car, somebody drive his car, you know what I'm saying? We're all going to my crib, like that same family vibe and everything. You know, I was kind of just greeted at the door, and they're like, hey, there's a lot of shit going on, like maybe you shouldn't be here. Like, shouldn't be here, like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all are tripping some shit, you know? And I think the first time I didn't even care, and I sat with that for a week, and then the second week I went in and I was like, none of y'all are, you know what I'm saying? None of y'all can tell me shit. I'm gonna be in here, and I'm gonna, whether I choose to enjoy myself, or whether I choose to just come collect my share or whatever it is, like, so as dead, like, you know, give me my respect or whatever. And I had a lot on my chest, so the delivery to it might have been a little rough around the edges, and there was, you know, personal things and within the family, and everybody had their opinions, you know. Makk knew what was going on, so he just knew what time it was, and he just stood out the way. Khan was pretty neutral. Alessandra had her opinions, and rightfully so. I respect her mind, and I respect, you know.
She's very strong-willed. Yeah,
she's very strong-willed.
Determined. She has her beliefs in line, and she will not bend.
Yeah, and her and I bumped heads a few times throughout the years that we had Shake and Base together, but
I remember.
Yeah, like we would bump heads sometimes, but literally the next day, like I'd call her, be like, I love you, can I come see you? Or something like that, or like, or hey, you know, no, I understand your point, and I validate like how you felt. You understand my point, like, all right, cool, man. It's still love. It wasn't nothing crazy like that. But the same thing started happening other places, Roxy's, you know, Vane, the same places that I was just balling at. Like, dude, you can't be here right now. So at that point, to give you some context about like how I felt about things and all that, at that point I felt betrayed, you know, and I felt undervalued. I felt unappreciated, and I felt like nobody was really just kind of being loyal to, like, you know, I've always been there for everybody. When people needed rent money, or when people fucking needed me, bro, I was there. In all kinds of ways, bro. And I needed people then, you know. I needed support. I needed friends. It's not even that I needed money, you know. I was fortunate enough to stash them away and like have my lawyer paid off and all my shit paid off and money to live. But like, you know, I needed a friend. I was going through a lot of shit, you know. I'm trying to figure it out myself. There's more newsreels coming out about me, and weird time for me, you know. And then when I finally like do get in Shake and Base, I slap the shit out of this kid that I never really liked, and something personal about a girl. This kid never had been to Shake and Base, but I guess in the 6 weeks that I didn't go, he just made himself at home. And he came up to me and he's like said something slick. I asked him for some space, and that didn't happen. And I just open hand smacked him like little shit. And then they were like, "Yeah, dude, this is exactly what we're talking about," you know. And rightfully so, you know. I was being young and fired up and passionate and hurt and seeing a lot of people change, you know. It was a lot for me to digest. And so to answer your question, like, the dynamics changed for a bit, you know, for a few months until we could get some understanding, you know. And then we all got our understanding. We all spoke privately, publicly. Things got a little heated online, Twitter, you know, talk a little shit, but like we figured a lot of it out, and and they kept, you know, everything going with Shaken Base, and I just fell back, and if I needed dough, they would. It's happily here in an envelope. And there's times that I'd go, there's times that I wouldn't. I didn't feel so obligated to go anymore. So I started, like, you know, camping, and like started getting into other things and other hobbies and shit, and traveling a bit, and yeah. So that's kind of to explain like how things changed, or like to answer your question, how the dynamic changed. That's the honest to God truth. Like, I could admit when I was wrong and be completely transparent and take accountability, and be completely transparent with things. And a lot of people had made good points. And then eventually came the time for me to have to do my bid. You know, I'd fought this thing for like a year, you know, going to court every 6 weeks, them continuing the case, screaming numbers at me, offered me 22 years, 18 years to take a plea. Like, bro, I was fucking started losing my hair, bro. Like, I was, you know,
Yeah,
it was fucked. I put my family through a lot of shit. My dad, you know, like very stressed out. Everybody was very stressed out for me.
a lot of pressure. For
A lot of pressure, and yeah, man. So then I went, and I had to do my bid, and I started my bid, and I went in there kind of with a chip on my shoulder still, but I used that chip on my shoulder to that chip on my shoulder got me through a lot of different things in prison. You know, there's a certain animosity, there was a certain, like, you know, that made me go out there and do 100 more push-ups on the rec yard, or that made me go out there and, you know, I'm sitting there doing burpees with everybody, like, and I'm locked into my own head of like, oh man, I can't wait to get my hands on one of these motherfuckers again. Like, I'm a ragdoll somebody, you know, like, I was just, you know, it was just what you have to do to hype yourself up. And it was like a healthy chip on my shoulder, but you know, and to a big surprise, man, well, first I have to say this, a year later, I started my bid in August, and the following August, Sam passed. I think on the last episode I told you about the phone call with Nico. And that broke me down. I fucking, you know, they tell, you know, they always say shit like, man, you know, you can cry in the shower when nobody can see you, whatever, all that shit, dude. I went to my bunk, dude. I was staring off into space. It was like 30 minutes before lights out, and they do final count. And when them lights turned off, I went to the TV room. You're not supposed to be there after the lights off. And I went all the way to the front of it, put my head like in a corner as if like I was almost in timeout, bro. And I just like looked at this corner and just started bawling, bro. Bawling my eyes out. And one of the lieutenants was doing a walk around like of the dorms, and he seen me, and he like got on the little PA system, and he said, "Hey, you gotta get out the TV room." And I didn't. No, fuck this dude. And then he came to like kind of check me, and he was like, "Hey," and he turned me, and I'm just like, "Listen, man, I just lost somebody. I just heard about this. Like, I need some time." He's like, "Man, take all the time you need. You know, just." Sat in there bawled, bro, and it hit me hard, and I had to cope with it differently, you know. But this is where I want to give flowers. Some of those same people that gave me friction, right? when I was going through what I was going through about getting in and all that. And the same people that I was doing all these fucking push-ups for now, all these people I had this rage in me towards, are some of the same people that wrote me a letter. You know, I got blood and family that didn't. You know, and you know, so shout out to Alessandra, man. Shout out to Males and Ivar, and you know, and a couple of people that I had some disagreements with, that were able to show me grace, and were able to show me just, you know, kindness and compassion, and was able to kind of bury something else to be able to do that, man. It meant a lot. And yeah, I had my opinions from in there, and I believe I can't remember who I responded, what letter I responded to, where like I kind of gave my opinion on what should happen. I thought that once Sam passed, like maybe it should have its final few, and the name should rest with him, you know. And that's what I truly believe. I think the name should have rested with him. I think it would have, in a business sense, and I think strategically, that was a way to maintain its integrity. And if we ever wanted to bring it back, you can do it, you know, instead of this just running this thing into just, you know. But at the same time, man, it was creating an income for some people, and some new people got involved, and some fundamental thing that might have changed, and I think even the scene changed. I think it was becoming less like ratchet,
and the venue,
and the venue. I guess the venue changed, and I think it started becoming less twerk vibes and more, you know, dubstep. People were going in there like completely like rolling, and it ended up feeling like Firestone on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And I, you know, lost its spark. I wasn't able to experience that in person, and so I could imagine maybe it would have been frustrating to kind of feel it fizzle out, you know.
I kind of saw that on the tail end a little bit, just because I went to. I remember when they hosted like the final party, or like the wake for Sam. I remember that they held that day, and I remember.
But that was a BackBooth.
That was a BackBooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. I was there.
Yeah. I know. I saw you there.
Yep.
And that was the last thing that I remember. That was one of the last few that I went to, because I felt similar in a way. Because when I had heard about, you know, Sam, I felt the same way. I was like, wow, this is kind of, to me, it felt lost too. Because I was like, he was the one who really was, you know, Alessandra and Ivar are also putting out music and doing great things, but he was the one. You know, the way I looked at it, it's like if there was a hero of the story, he was kind of the one that was kind of doing it. You know what I mean? And like you said, it would only feel right to retire it.
But it,
you know?
Like he said, you would think that when that happened, it would just end with him. And I know what he's saying, because after that, it was done at BackBooth. It went to Vintage.
Yeah, and that's where it changed.
Yeah,
I think, you know, and it just kind of goes to show, like the flyer quality that we had. I think we had a specific look. You know, a lot of times Kevin from Smile for Camera would help us build like the dopest flyers. I had a really good flyer team. We maintained the same logos, like the same aesthetic. And then I think once it moved, like the logo changed. I guess the feel for it changed. Who knows? And Shake and Bass, you know, fizzled out. And sometimes no problem with that, you know. And then a few years later, you know, I got out November 5th, 2019. The pandemic hit. 2020 around February, and I think around July, July or August, Red Bull Music was doing at that time, artists and stuff were live streaming their stuff, and like,
Yep.
remember like Tory Lanez had
Yep.
this
Yeah.
stuff, and like everybody was doing different shit, and Red Bull rented this big mansion in Fort Lauderdale, and they had a bunch of people there for like a weekend. Trick Daddy, J Balvin, they had a bunch of shit happening, and they invited the Shake and Bass thing, and they had like a Shake and Bass reunion stream hosted by Red Bull. You had to get swabbed and everything before you get in, and that was the first time I got to see everybody in person again, and where it was love, and then where there was some conversations that needed to be had, I gladly was like, hey, you mind step to the side and have a beer here for a second, and spoke our piece, and hey, like, I understand where you're coming from. Let's put it behind us, hug it out, love you, and was able to kind of let some of that out. There was a couple of people in that house that hated that I was there, and shout out to Kiko, and yeah, I loved it. I loved being fresh out, being in the best, absolute best version of myself, mentally, everything. I loved being on the 52nd, floor in a fucking high rise. I loved driving exotic cars, and being on yachts and doing all these things, and then stepping into a house where somebody, doesn't have a backbone enough to withstand your energy, and then do it, and then, and in a place where I just spent the last 5 years before that, it's like you stand on some shit, you gotta have a backbone, you gotta know who you are, you don't like, so it was satisfying knowing how I was living and how God was blessing me at the time, and to run into some people that were just like had their panties in a bunch or whatever, and as soon as they see me, like, go into one of the rooms at the little mansion and lock themselves in there for the night, host shit, but it was cool. It was cool to see my brother happy, happy colors. Mez was there, and a lot of good people were there. It was a vibe. That's it.
I want to give you your flowers too, because when you were doing your time, never gonna forget, on my break, I got a phone call, and I ignored it, and then I got a message, and it was you.
That's when I was dealing with cell phones in prison.
Yeah.
I had a few cell phones.
I don't want to get emotional right now. You hitting me up and remembering me meant so much to me, because you've talked about people fucking you over, people not believing in you, loyalty and all that, and you saw that in me, and I saw it in you, and you hit me up. I remember all that story with you, and then never gonna forget you hitting me up. I'm at the halfway house.
Yeah. I mean, bro, that's something you earned, bro. It wasn't given, man. Like, there wasn't a time that I needed you and I called you and you weren't there, and shit, dude. When people are like that with me, they're locked in, and that's what it was, bro. That's what it was. You know, had to do my time. I had to do my little 5 years. When I get a little chance to get on a phone and I got Facebook or
Shit.
something, I'm like, oh shit. Yo, what's your number? Yo, can somebody get me this person's number?
Yep.
I only got 10 more minutes. All right, yo, I just wrote down 10 phone numbers.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Log out of Facebook. Yo, it's good. Yeah, I'm good. Everything's chilling, bro. You know, whatever. Like, yeah, man. So it was equally as satisfying to hear from you, you know, and equally an honor, bro. So
To all of that, what I wanted to end, not the conversation, but you've impacted a lot of people, man. A lot of people till this day love you, respect you, give you your flowers. If you go on my Facebook post, actually, you don't have Facebook, but if you were to go on my Facebook, I posted, "Who remembers Shaken Bass?" That was it. Do you understand the amount of people that actually keep sharing it and commenting? Till this day, you're an amazing person. Thank you for what you did for the scene. Thank you for giving us that opportunity of being part of it, not business-wise. Emotionally, mentally, everything. Me, different with you from them. But you're a legend, bro.
I appreciate that, man.
You're a fucking legend.
I appreciate that, man.
Like,
I appreciate
straight up.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And like, bro,
there's people that have made a change in Orlando, and that's what we're trying to do. But you're on the fucking top. We know Kevin Collier, Smile for Camera.
They're up there. You would say I'm up there with them?
Oh yeah, like dude, Shaken Bass.
My brother, like
if you don't mind me sharing, like Shaken Bass to me was one of those few times, just like Takeover, where it was like I'm glad to know people like you and Rafa and Brad, because like in a way, like it makes everything like feel real. Like when I tell my current girlfriend about all these parties and all this stuff, like it's almost like, man, I wish there was someone who could back up what I'm saying, or like or have the pictures, like we were saying, to these crazy ass stories that like, you know what I mean? And like with Shaken Bass, like I used to go every chance that I could. And then the last time that I went, I took an ex-girlfriend, and her friends were like, why is everybody like twerking everywhere? And why is everybody so like crazy? And I'm like, what do you mean? Why? I'm like, are you not having fun? You know? And it made me realize, like, you know, we were on a whole different wave of like freedom, because some people just couldn't see like what it was, you know what I mean? And then to be able to, you know, think back and be like, man, all of this went down, you know, and the fact that, like we said earlier in like the last episode, like you were able to create with them like this movement, this party, like you were saying, like this debaucherous kind of thing where people knew this was gonna be a good fucking time.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's all that. And if you wanted to have a good time, then this is where you should be. You know what I mean? And like you said, it wasn't just people showing up to take a picture like now or stuff like that. Like you actually went there to have a good time. And like you said, like how do you know about this party? Someone brought you, because we all know each other, so you're clearly new. Yep. It's like Brighton, who's a new friend that I made, he said something similar on his show when I was with him. He said it's similar to like being on Cheers, like the TV show, like when you walk in the bar and everyone's like, hey, you know, it's Rafa, you know, like, hey, it's Brad, like, you know, it's like, wow, like we feel like a part of something, and not just on an exterior level, but we feel like the familiar, you know. Yeah. And so like the fact that you were able to create something like that is huge. Like it's huge.
That is what I wanted from it all. You know what I'm saying? And like I mentioned it yesterday, and I'll talk about it a little bit right now, but like, my brother, that's how we live forever. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, it made an impact, and like, yeah, it was awesome. And like, bro, the amount of satisfaction that I felt, like bringing a vision to life, you know, hearing the sound and being like, oh, dude, like my people would love this. Like, hold up, wait, my people do this. oh wait, we can do it here. Like, and from the inception of it to everything, it's super fulfilling, man. Knowing that it impacted so many people's lives, you know, and like, and in deep ways, man. And yeah, man.
Do you like, here's a question for you. Do you feel you succeeded in that mission? Like, at the end of the day, do you feel like the journey you set out upon with starting Shake and Base, do you feel like you succeeded? And then on top of that, do you feel like you kicked Nick's ass on Sundays?
Senso Sundays lasted for about 4 months. Senso Sundays lasted for about 4 months after Shake and Base started. And the funny part is, Shake and Base was right next door to Boss, the same place that kicked me out. And I used to run into Mayor, and he'd be sitting there waiting for people to come in, and my shit had a whole line outside of it.
Yep.
You know, so every feeling was fucking fulfilling, dude. And like, yeah, man, I forgot what the fucking question was. I hit
You
that.
feel like you made it? You feel like that you know?
Hell, fuck yeah. Yeah, man. If I didn't, we wouldn't be having these conversations, or these conversations wouldn't have. Or these
I love that.
Or if we didn't, then like we think about it, bro. Like, and this isn't just a surface level conversation. Everybody who's talked about it and everybody who's felt it they speak about it with substance. Nobody's just like, oh yeah, like, you know. Anybody. We'll use Takeover, for example. Takeover is a great time. We were getting fucked up, Four Locos in that era, you know what I'm saying? And dubstep. But you don't hear about like people like making like best friends at Takeover, like or like, I feel like when people mention Shake and Base, it came with a lot of substance, you know? It's like it came.
More life happened there.
More life, more like.
And it felt like a family.
Yeah, it did. It really did. So, like yeah. So
party, Shake and Base was the cookout. It was
the type shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but that cookout.
So yeah. To answer your question, man. Yeah, I definitely feel like it was achieved, and it was achieved way better than I could have ever dreamed of. And I think that was just a blessing from God. I think, you know, the glory go to him. He saw a group of kids that all had a dream and good intentions behind it, and they wanted to do it for the right reasons, and he made the way. So, and yeah, man.
Thank you.
Hell yeah, I was done. Yeah. Amen.
Amen to that. You want to say anything, Rafa? You want to? We've been sitting here a minute.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, we hit an hour.
That's fine. We're gonna end this actually in a
I love that
love and positive note. Before we end, like I told you, thank you. Thank you. No, seriously, like
thank you for making history with us. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for making the sacrifice. Thank you for making the sacrifices you made to make things happen. You know, we were coming to you for all our prints. You know, you designed. I mean, you printed all the ape stickers. You know, like we at one point we started a company named Ape, and Ape.
Yeah.
You know, has his own backstory too. But man, you were there for all of it. So
we're gonna post pictures.
So thank you.
I love what we're doing because what you said got me back into me being me. Like, oh shit, I was part of that. I'm talking more of a fan, not the relationship. Like, seriously, thank you for giving us the opportunity of having you here. We're not gonna get into details, but he's going to Bali for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
He only had a couple of days in Orlando, and he's been here 2 of them. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank
of course.
you.
Of course, man. Of course. It feels great to be able to tell the story, man. You know,
you could be doing anything else in the world,
But
which we are. But you've been here for us 2 times. So as a team, I know he feels the same way. Thank you, bro.
Of course, bro.
Thank you.
Thank
My
you.
G.
Thank you. I love you, man.
Thank you.
I love you, Bumpy.
Yeah, man. So what's up, man? I hear we have a set that we usually play.
Yeah,
Are we gonna play a little Moomba or what?
So Brad and I are gonna go back to back. I don't have the mic on you. I mean, I know it's picking.
Oh, it's okay. We're about to have a special set in memory of Makk, the whole Moomba Mafia, and the legend right here sitting down. We're gonna have the first back-to-back set between and Double O, which is behind cameras. Guys, thank you once again, Triska. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, man, and thank you guys for listening and tuning in and being part of the story. And cheers to many more.
Yeah.
Bye. Salud.
Salute, man. To Shaking Base.
They're shaking, babe. For real.
To fucking Shaking Base.
And we'll catch you guys on the DJ set.
Peace.